ahead and spit those numbers out one more time?
If you don't mind, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So we got Hong Kong has 51 cases with 2 new cases diagnosed. The city of Zhuhai has 91 cases with 2 new cases diagnosed. The city of Shenzhen has 400, and they have got a total of 9 new cases. And Guangzhou has 328 with 1 case. Macau had a total of 10 cases. We've released 3. No deaths in Macau, 1 death in Hong Kong.
Wow. So I guess as we proceed forward with this tonight, if you want to tell everybody, what's your background when it comes to health stuff and your background in China, if you want to kind of get some details about that.
So I got into medicine through the military. I'm a former elite corpsman. I started off as just a regular combat corpsman attached to the Marines, doing emergency medicine and sick call type stuff. And then later I got into, I went to another school for preventive medicine, and that's how I kind of got into the whole public health realm.
Interesting.
Is got into preventive medicine. So the last 3 years I served in the military, I was operating as a preventive medicine technician. That deals with a wide range of everything from foodborne illness to waterborne illness to prevention and disease surveillance, et cetera, et cetera. And then I eventually got my master's in public health, and I ended up in Macau, China about 13 years ago, almost 14 years ago. So I've been overseas. I've actually been overseas for about 17 years, I believe.
Wow. So you'd say you definitely know a few things about the area then.
I would hope I do.
Well, it's definitely your expertise and background is very appreciated. I guess another big question I have is, so when it comes to Macau, would you say that they're pretty controlling about information, even in an area that's not necessarily as controlled as by the CCP?
Well, I think it would be important to realize it depends on what information you're talking about. If we're talking about information regarding this virus, I feel that the government here has been pretty forthcoming. However, it's important to remember that Macau is a very small place. It's much smaller than Hong Kong is, and even though Hong Kong and Macau share similar traits, both being special administration regions of China, which fall under China's one country, 2 systems approach, we are smaller and a little bit more dependent upon Beijing, I'd say, than, say, Hong Kong is. It's hard to tell what information comes out, what to believe. And I think the only way to really get to the bottom of it is start dissecting the numbers that are coming out. I think right now we've kind of leveled off in China, but we just had, Thursday, 242 deaths Thursday in mainland China. And I wonder if that's because the Chinese government is slowly losing their grip on the information, meaning that, they can only suppress these numbers for a certain period of time before they start coming out. And I'm wondering if we're starting to see that. I think what you're going to see in China is over the next few weeks is a stabilization period. I think you're going to start seeing a lot more cases around the world pop up. Yeah.
I think we mentioned a little bit about that beforehand. So you're thinking that with the situation with China, you feel they're beginning to get it under wraps over there now?
That's hard to tell because we don't know what's going on really in Wuhan. If we could know exactly what was truly going on in Hubei province, that would be the key. But the Chinese love to control information, as most governments do. But they stand a lot to lose from letting a lot of information come out. And I think that's the concern about many over here is I can tell you the consensus among most locals that I've spoken to, both expats and local people here, is that it's thoroughly believed that the numbers are much higher than what we're being told.
Yeah.
So that's the concern, I think.
And when it comes to the death rate, because this is one of the big things that most people have been disputing, especially about the mortality rate.
Right.
Do you think that they're necessarily underreporting? Like when it comes to underreporting about the infected, I think it's pretty obvious that the infected is underreported. But do you also feel that possibly the dead is also underreported? And if so, to what degree are you, I guess, guessing it might be?
I think that's a very, very real possibility. I wouldn't discount anything. I don't want to come out and say for sure this is going on because I just don't know in this climate over here. It's hard to tell. I think it would be very naive to think that it's not happening and the mortality rate isn't higher. I've heard conflicting reports of anywhere from a mortality rate of 2% to 14%.
Yeah.
Thing is SARS mortality rate was about 14, anywhere from 10 to 14%. MERS was, I believe, 35% mortality rate. I do think this is higher than 3%. I would say it's probably closer to the mortality rate of SARS, if not a little bit higher. I just don't know because we don't know what the correct numbers are.
Interesting. Another, I guess, related to that question then, when would you say the first cases started being confirmed in your area?
Oh, probably, let's see. In Macau, probably three weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago.
Interesting. Okay.
Probably. Because I was in Taiwan until about 3 weeks ago. And when I was in Taiwan, there were no cases. There were a few cases in Macau. There were 5 at that time. I expect more cases to pop up in Macau as well.
Yeah.
The reason why is because there's so many cases in Zhuhai right now, which is right across the border. Like I said, we have got 91 cases in Zhuhai. And the thing is lots of people come across the border from Zhuhai to Macau for work.
Okay.
With this very long period of incubation that this disease has, I think it would be naive to think that we're out of the woods yet.
Yeah.
I will say this, though. The Macau government has been outstanding in what they've done, and I think that's the reason why we only have 10 cases here. They were very proactive. They shut down the casinos. They shut down all entertainment venues really quickly because, we got 600,000 people here stuck in an area probably smaller than the size of Rhode Island.
I didn't know that.
So
it's
a dangerous place when you're dealing with a virulent virus like this.
Interesting. So would you say population density wise, if you were to compare Macau to, say, New York, how would they compare?
I don't know what the population of New York is currently, though, to be honest.
Let's see if I can find out. I'm going to pull it up. See if I can get that real quick.
Okay.
Population.
I can compare it to you with Hong Kong. Hong Kong has the highest population density in the world, I believe. It's either Hong Kong or Tokyo.
Tokyo or that one. Yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah, it's either Tokyo or Hong Kong. And Hong Kong, I believe, has about 7 million people. I don't know what the area is for that, though, as well, too. But Hong Kong is not a very big place either, although it is much bigger than Macau, obviously, because they've got 7 million. We've got 600,000.
So I pulled it up. Looks like population of New York is 8.623 million right now, as of 2017.
Okay, so that's fairly close to Hong Kong then.
Interesting, because I know there's evidence that there may be not saying infection, but there might be potential cases in New York. So for those who are in the States, we actually have one person here, Michelle. She was really excited for this interview tonight. She actually made a comment saying, "Excellent background. Thank you for your service." She's in New York right now.
Tell her thank you very much.
Yep. So
I think what you guys are going to see in the States, and I may very well be wrong, so please don't take what I say as it's going to happen, because I can only guess at this time. I think in the next few weeks is going to be the next 2 weeks are going to be very telling for the United States and probably the world, because we're kind of getting into that time to where the incubation period, if people are going to get sick, they're going to start getting sick now. Yeah. I think you'll see cluster outbreaks in some of the big cities around the U.S. and around the world. I hope this is a wake-up call for the world. We've been expecting this for quite a while in the public health world, and that's why a lot of the rushing and the fear has come from too, as far as people getting concerned within the medical community. We're trying to prevent a Spanish flu outbreak to be
right,
and we know that the possibility of that happening is very, very real. We've known it for a long time. There's still lots of viruses that are undiscovered. There's still viruses that we're looking at that right now are still only animal to animal transmission, but they can always mutate and jump over. And this is a new virus we're dealing with. You've got about 50 or 53 different viruses within the coronavirus family. And most of them, like the common cold, is caused by the coronavirus. Not a big deal.
Right.
But then you start getting into SARS, MERS, and now this new disease. There's lots of speculation over here. Did it come from a lab? Is it zoonotic? Where did it come from? And I don't think we can really cancel anything out. We need to be able to be ready for anything. I tend to, being kind of a man of science myself and military guy, I would say, as far as this being a bioweapon, I would initially say probably not a bioweapon. I don't think it spreads fast enough. I think if it was a true bioweapon, it would spread much, 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 much faster. Again, we don't know because the numbers that are coming out of China, that's the issue. I tend to think of what the whole Occam's razor type thing. I don't know if you're familiar with Occam's razor at all.
Yeah.
And so if I go by that, I tend to say it's most likely is zoonotic and it came from animals. Ebola virus, the reservoir for Ebola is bats. The reservoir for SARS is bats with a secondary reservoir of civet cats. MERS is also reservoir is also bats with the secondary reservoir being camels. So it does fall in line with what a coronavirus where they come from and being zoonotic from animal to human. So I don't discount anything, but for now I'm still going to say I'm going to go with the whole zoonotic thing, that it was from the wet market, even though there are some things that I'm concerned about that don't make sense.
Yeah.
That makes,
so for people here that are not really familiar with the terminology, with reservoir, I guess what would be the definition of that term so people that might not be familiar with it might be aware?
Reservoir is basically where the disease comes from, more or less.
Okay.
And usually reservoirs, the animals that carry, they're also carriers. They're usually not affected by the disease at all. So if you got a reservoir of a bat, the bat is not going to be infected by the disease.
Okay.
And so the bat bites the cats. You go and you eat the cats. The bat has transmitted the disease to the cats, and then you get sick from eating the cats, or if you eat the bats.
So it's similar to, I guess, how like the Black Death jumped from animal to animal until it eventually got to humans.
It finally mutated, and yes, that's correct. And I think a lot of people in America don't understand Asia and as a whole is, a lot of Asia, except for Japan and Taiwan and Korea and stuff like that, social economics plays a big part in what people eat out here. It's not uncommon for them to eat strange foods. Indonesia, they eat bats. In Southeast Asia, they eat bats. So the fact that they're eating bats in China is not really that surprising. You grew up that way. You can only afford that, and that's what you like. That's what's familiar to you, so you continue to eat it. And that's always a danger. So.
Yeah, makes it. I guess it does make a lot of sense. I mean, I know that especially this early on when there's a lot of fear and concern about something this large. I mean, a lot of people tend to try to find things that are as fantastic or gigantic as the news to explain what's going on. And in this instance, I guess it doesn't seem like bioweapons counted out. I think we have a senator right now trying to get to the bottom of it right now, but yeah. It seems like it's too early to really rush to that, in my opinion.
Oh, I think it absolutely is. I think bioweapons is possible.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not. I just think it would spread much faster as bioweapons. Now we have to remember, though, there's lots of countries that have these kinds of viruses and different kinds of viruses within their laboratory settings. The Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta, Georgia, is a great one. We've had accidents before where infectious diseases have gotten out. We've been lucky in America where it's only affected people within the CDC. But China doesn't have the same kind of policies and the same kind of safety measures that we do in the Western world. So it is possible that something got out of the lab. It doesn't mean it's a bioweapon. I mean, scientists study these viruses on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that if it did get out of a lab, it was something that purposely was let out. And I think that's important to remember, and not get too much into the whole conspiracy theory of it all. But at the same time, being open to the fact that it is a real possibility as well.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I think we just got did we get a message here? Oh, weird. So we got a message from a new person here named Stinky Three Shoes. They asking, are we? I'm on a spaceship. No, I'm not on a spaceship. It's not on a spaceship. But that being said, sorry, I got a Skype notification and it was just that got a weird person hit me up. But yeah, so it's I had another good question before I got that weird Skype hit up. Okay, I'm sure I come with. Oh yeah, here's a good one then. So as things have been progressing over in Macau, what have you guys done to prep, if you have at all?
You know what? We haven't had to do a lot of prep here because the government has been on top of it from day one, it seems like. We've got plenty of food in the supermarkets. We've got plenty of masks. Everything, there's been some kind of, every once in a while, some people freak out and they'll go out and they'll, basically run the supermarket dry, but the next day it's already full. I haven't done a whole lot, to be honest with you. I mean, we've got our N95 mask. I've got my medical kits here that are mostly trauma-related, left over from the military. We're just really staying home. We're really just isolating ourselves, and we only go out when we need groceries or something important.
Interesting. So they're basically saying they're making sure everyone doesn't even go out at all.
Yeah, and well, the thing is too is people are starting to get a little bit lackadaisical out here, if I could say that, because there's a lot more people out on the streets since yesterday, and the government has actually put out a thing saying stay home. We know things are calming down, but now is not the time to let your guard down. The way this spreads is being, around infected people. So if you congregate anywhere with lots of people, you increase your chance of infection. It is aerosolized. I do want to say it's not an airborne virus. So if you hear anybody say it's airborne, it's incorrect. It's aerosolized. So airborne would mean it could travel very, very far within the air and survive and infect people that way. That is not happening now. It's either close contact, fecal, or aerosol particles within about 10 feet of the person who sneezes or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually was I kind of learned recently that aerosolized and airborne are different things. Because when I read about that, I was surprised.
Yes, and there's lots of misinformation out that, and I just want to let everybody know here that's on your program that it is not airborne. Okay. That is a good thing. If it becomes airborne, we're in serious trouble.
Yeah,
I will tell you that.
And you feel, I think we mentioned a while back, you said that you were concerned if it does mutate. You think that's still a possibility?
I do. I think anything's a possibility now. However, the good news is about viruses and bacteria in general is if it mutates to a more dangerous, higher mortality rate, it really does the virus no good.
Right.
The virus needs a host to live. If it kills its host, it dies.
Right. I've read that about apparently the most, hypothetically, the worst virus that could hit us is one that doesn't kill that fast.
Yes, and that is nature's a beautiful and amazing thing, and that's how it survives.
Yeah.
If it kills the host, then what good does it do? So it could actually mutate to become less virulent as well too. It could go both ways.
So I actually have some questions right now from another person, Yasmin, I think's her name. Forgive me if I pronounced it wrong. They said the rest of the world is so silent. Why do you think it's so? And also, what advice would you give to get protected besides masks?
As far as protection, hygiene is the key here. Hygiene. Washing your hands. If you're in a public place and you get home, one thing that we've done at our house is we leave our shoes outside. We take our shoes off before we come in the house, and then we spray our shoes down. We spray our jeans or whatever our pants are that may have touched the ground. This virus can live on the surfaces of just about anything for about 5 days, people.
Wow,
it's a long time.
That's impressive.
So we come in, we immediately take off our clothes. We throw our clothes in. We spray our clothes and we throw our clothes in the wash. Then we go wash our hands. We disinfect our phones, disinfect our keys,
Wow.
anything that you touch, doors, handles, and stuff like that. So cleanliness and hygiene are really paramount.
Crucial. Yeah.
I would about masks. I think surgical masks are good. It's better than nothing. But I think you really need an N95 respirator mask or something even better than that would probably be appropriate.
Another question. Speaking, because I actually didn't get a chance to figure out. I asked if you're still tuning in. She said actually she just said thank you. So I know she's still viewing this. I was curious, Yasmin, what area do you come from? And the same actually applies to sticky shoes, because I think that advice that would be given to you, I think it could change based on the area you're in. Like for instance, if you're like in the Midwest U.S. right now, I don't know if those precautions are very necessary right now. But if you're like East Coast or West Coast, especially like San Diego, then I think that it might be a bit closer to time to prepare. So if you're still listening, I'd love to know where you are.
Yeah, I think that's important to get out to. Let's look at logistics and et cetera, and take a look at your own surroundings and where you are. If you're in New York City, hygiene is paramount. Any big city, San Diego, Texas, but if you're out in the country in the cornfields of Iowa or something like that, you're gonna need a lot less, if anything at all.
She just responded actually. She said Turkey, Istanbul. That is really interesting. Istanbul. Wow. No confirmed cases in Istanbul, but I guess she's the middle of Asia and Europe. Maybe. What do you think? Like travel, I guess, perhaps. That's hard to say. I guess there's nothing to worry about at the moment. For Istanbul. I haven't heard anything. I don't think there's any. I got to look it up, but I don't think there's even cases that are expected even there or suspected in that area.
Well, I think you got to remember that the Chinese love to travel.
Yeah.
Their economy has been booming until recently. It's actually on the decline now. However, travel over the past 15 or 20 years for the Chinese is a big thing. It depends on where most Chinese tourists go. I'm not sure if Istanbul is a big one on the list for them. So that may be very helpful to Istanbul.
Interesting. We got our first commenter here from Brazil. These are all new people. That's really fascinating. So looks like we got some interested people that are tuning into the stream tonight.
Cool.
Let's see. They said in Istanbul they had flights until yesterday from Wuhan, so now they just stopped flights from there. Do you really think that's going to stop a potential outbreak, though? I mean,
No, not now. It's too late. No.
Yeah, I would say it's too late at that point.
That should have been done probably weeks ago.
Yeah.
So if they were having flights from anywhere in China, this virus is in every province in China. The entire country is infected.
Yeah. Another thing I read today, speaking of your area, I was reading that the RO rate, or R naught rate, I found out recently that's how you say it, R naught. So I'm catching up I'm trying to be a little more literate in this area when I'm talking to experts like you. But so the R naught, I've read that the R naught is more dependent on human activity. And even with that in mind, the R naught is still significant even now in China. Is that correct?
I believe so. Last I heard it was 3.8. I don't know if that's gotten higher or down, but of course that makes a big difference when you're in a populated area. Absolutely. So basically what that means is that the virus is quite large. So, and that's one reason why, because it's got that 3.8 R naught, it stays on the surfaces for up to 5 days.
Wow.
Bleach will kill it. So, bleach your door handles and stuff like that, with a probably a ratio of 1 to 10. So 1 part's bleach to 10 parts water. Spray it down, keep it on there for a little bit and wipe it off.
I've read that.
But yeah, it does have a big effect in a close population. And that's why the Macau government doesn't want people on the streets unless it's absolutely necessary.
So compounding on what you were saying, I also read that for hand sanitizer, apparently 70% isopropyl alcohol is better than 90 or above for this virus. Is that correct?
I haven't read that. That's interesting, though. That's something I'll have to look into about that. We've got hand sanitizer here, so if you've got it, use it.
Yeah, just don't trust it 100%, I guess.
hand washing is the best that you can do.
Yeah, that's what I'm gathering too. Is as I guess inconvenient comparatively it is, it's definitely the way to go. So most of the people that tune into this are from the United States. So for people in the U.S., are there areas you would recommend preparing for, and if so, what would you suggest they should do to prepare?
Well, if you're in a big populated city, or you're in a city that has cases already, I think the best thing to do is always, stock up on some food, stock up on some water, get some medical supplies if you need. The worst place to be in an epidemic outbreak is at a hospital.
Yeah.
So very dangerous to be in a hospital during something like this. So keep medical supplies at your house so you don't have to go and, for something stupid to the ER or whatever.
Yeah.
And just make sure that you have a plan to sanitize yourself when you get back home. And when you go out, that you're protected well enough, and minimize contact. The minimization of contact is really going to be what's key here.
And another question, speaking of going out and interacting with people and whatnot, if there was a time to get those extra groceries, stocking up, all that stuff, would you say being ahead of it now would be the better idea, or would you say it's not quite time for that yet?
I would probably, depending on my location, if I was in the States, I would start probably stocking up.
Yeah.
If that fear panic happens, everybody's going to rush and it's going to be absolutely pandemonium. And the last thing you want is to, wait to the last minute and then you're kind of SOL for that matter.
Yeah.
I'd start doing a little bit right now. The good thing that we have going for the U.S. is that we're a big country. We're quite spread out. The biggest dangers are in the big cities.
Yeah. I think an outbreak in New York City would be...
It would be probably devastating, yeah.
Cataclysmic, perhaps, I would almost say, but it's really hard to say. I mean, you saw, there's those photos of those buses that have been turned into medical vans. They're bracing for impact out there. I mean, there's that one...
Well, and...
Yeah?
Well, they should be.
Right.
They should be.
I hope so,
Well, if I can interrupt you just for a second to let everybody know what's going on here. So I'm in my bedroom right now, and I live on the 23rd floor in Macau, and I can hear outside from a loudspeaker about 2 or 3 times a day. A car will drive by on a loudspeaker in both Cantonese, Mandarin, and English and Portuguese, telling people to remain inside. So that's what I'm hearing right now. It's time for that. Get inside, stay inside, something like that.
It seems like in order to stop this, the Chinese government are really implementing some draconian measures here. Where you are, it seems like it's not nearly as bad as that one. I forget the name of the province, but there was that one that now 400,000 people are under martial law for the next 14 days at minimum.
Yeah, that would be Hubei province. Yeah.
Yeah, that's looking real brutal over there. And would you say that you're in lockdown?
No, not at all.
Not yet. Okay.
No, I mean, I could go out if I want to. I choose not to. As far as the martial law issue, I can tell you that is a direct indication of how serious the problem is, and that this virus should be taken seriously. I told people weeks ago that this virus ticks all the boxes of something that could cause a world pandemic and a serious pandemic.
Yeah.
We've already surpassed the number of deaths from SARS in 2002 and 2003. SARS lasted 6 to 9 months. I believe we're in 3 months in.
Just barely.
And we're already over 1,000 deaths.
And that's Chinese
But it's also important to remember that people are recovering. So I don't want to scare people either. But I'm just saying, my point is this is a very, very, very bad disease.
Yes. I think we can definitely agree on that one. And one of the things I'm trying to get out for this channel here is, initially I didn't make it for this kind of a topic, but I just noticed that, especially online, it was very difficult to find a lot of channels that either did not downplay the virus or also did not fearmonger about the virus. And I think it seems like we're on definitely the same page here, that this is a virus that really not to be underestimated. It's not the flu. It's not the Black Death either, at least in terms of mortality rate, but it's still very serious. And I think that if there is a time to prep, it's depending on the area, now's the time. And we got another question here from Yasmin. Actually, we got a couple. She says that Yasmin says that, Oh, okay. Wow, we got a couple of them. Wow. Sticky Shoes says, can cats or dogs get the virus? I've read no. Is that true?
No, that is true.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Another question. Yasmin says, is it true that all movie theaters, malls, etc., are closed in Macau?
Yes, that is true.
Okay. Another question, too, is why do you think the rest of the world is so silent?
Good question, and I think it goes back to, and I can't remember the year on this, but you remember not too many years ago, the Ebola scare that we had, and then we had this, before that was the SARS scare, then we had the MERS scare. And the reason why the scientific community took those so seriously is it goes back to what I said earlier, is we've been expecting this. But I think also what's happened is people, with this day and age, with misinformation on the internet and all kinds of strange conspiracy theories all the time, they're really hesitant about anything, and they don't want to jump on board on anything. And I think also it's because they felt that, well, last time they told us that this was a serious thing with Ebola, SARS, and MERS, and look, nothing happened.
Yeah.
So, and this is going to be a wake-up call for the world. The World Health Organization, I feel, dropped the ball on this as well, too. So, it's going to be an interesting year. I mean, we're not even talking about, it's much more than just the cost of lives and the cost of healthcare. The MGM casino in Macau here. So for those of you that don't know, Macau is the Las Vegas of Asia. We've got American casinos here. We've got Australian casinos here. There's about 41 casinos in this city. It's more than there is in Vegas. And we make more money than Las Vegas. The MGM casino in Macau is losing $200 million a day here.
Oof.
People are out of work. So this is going to hit the world economy as well.
I got another question here in a second. Once you're done that, I got another guy queued up real quick. We got a lot of them. But yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just reading that. You had one.
Sure. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Let me see. All right. So we got one from Diego, I think's his name. Let me scroll up and grab his. Okay. Did we? I thought we got him. I thought he asked the one about. No, he did not. Wow. This is moving kind of quick here. Brazil. Why I missed this for some reason. Okay, thanks for the reminder, Diego. It says, do you think the virus can spread and cause conditions around the world and quarantine other cities? And a side response to our buddy here, DR. No, these are not cheese graters on the arms here, but it'd be nice if they were. It'd be cool for stocking up. But no, these are just little effects that I've picked up. I just dig them. But there's your answer. Also, yeah, where are you from, dude? DR. But yeah, so... Diego, that's his question. He asked if it could spread and cause quarantines around other cities. I guess what he's talking about is around the planet. So what do you think?
So let me make sure I understand the question. The question is, actually, repeat the question one more time for me.
Sure, not a problem. He says, do you think the virus can spread and cause countries around the world and quarantine other cities? So I guess he's saying like putting other cities in lockdown.
Do I think that will happen?
Yeah.
I think it's very possible, yes.
A second. Interesting. Oh, our DR here's from Seattle. Interesting, DR. Thanks for joining us. Sorry. I should just say, actually, she's just tuning. I should probably just say it. But here, nice to join us. So, yeah, that's what I've been gathering, too. But, I mean, this is just from what I'm gathering. At the end of the day, I'm just a dude who's, looking into all this stuff. And it seems like it's a significant enough possibility to warrant concern.
Absolutely.
I think it seems like in our chat we have a very similar consensus about the whole thing. It's being concerned, taking it very seriously, taking precautions. If you can stock up, if you have the resources to stock up, depending on where you are right now would be the time to do it. I mean, I mentioned to you guys already that the supermarket near my house, it's getting increasingly busier. I live right outside of Baltimore. We're right by BWI. There are reports that they weren't really screening a lot of people from China very well. It's hard to verify, but I mean, in our chat, I showed everybody a ticket from Delta Airlines from a guy who came from China that really wasn't. He just apparently got through. They didn't even quarantine him or scan him, and that was, I think, like February 1st, I believe. I got to get the photo. But point being, like, there's evidence that it could be among us. And we got another question here from Fire on the Mountain Jones. Let's both talk about stocking. I'll start with what he asked, like what kind of things we stocked. So for me, it's actually been a fun project of mine. I kind of got addicted to it. I think you've seen how ridiculously prepped I've been lately. So for what I got, I picked up a ton of Spam, a lot of non-perishables. I just got a bunch of canned pineapple recently. I'm trying to make sure I cover my macros a lot. So the best way I view this, the best way I try to view this as I'm buying groceries for the next few months, and a worst case scenario is if this does blow over, I've got resources. I've got rice. Rice keeps a long time. It's got it keeps a lot of energy in there, a lot of carbohydrates, protein powder because again you want to keep your protein up. You don't want to have all fat, all carbs. I got my freezer full of meat. I've been freezing kale. And it's a bunch of other stuff too. A bunch of soups, just a lot of canned stuff.
Yeah, a lot of non-perishable
yes.
food is what you need. Yeah,
it's a good way to do that. Also, I think it's a good idea if you have one. I have had a water distiller for a few months, and it's been very handy. So in case I have to stay in place, I can just make endless water. A Brita filter is really not going to get the job done. It's not going to get rid of a lot of the heavy metals in the water. Like I may have showed the group photos of what it removes from the water when I'm drinking from it. So having a good source of water is a good idea. If not, you want to get a lot of gallons of it or get big jugs. That's a good idea. Also, make sure you have food that in case you lose power, you can still eat it. I mean, the canned stuff, it's not going to be delectable, but I can still eat it if I run out of power.
Sure.
I think corned beef. I haven't even tried that stuff before, but it's got decent macros in it.
Corned beef's great, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying it. I'm trying not to eat all of it now, but I'm staying in as much as I can. And it wasn't too bad. So I got a lot. Oh yeah, also for my purposes, because I don't want to lose a rocket stove. Okay, I might look into that. I also want to get like a camping stove possibly.
Like a Coleman or something.
Yeah, butane. I haven't tried getting one of those yet. To be honest, deep down, I don't think power will be an issue in the States, even if it gets super, super bad. I think we're still gonna have power. I think it's just...
it hasn't been an issue over here that I'm aware of, so I would assume it would not be over there either.
Right. So using that because I've kept an eye on that as well. And I think that even with is there reports that Wuhan has Oh, really? A rocket stove. I have charcoal. I use charcoal to help keep the air clean in here sometimes. Like, they're really good kind of mini air purifiers. So maybe I'll look into a rocket stove. Thanks a lot for the heads up, man.
Cool.
That's really interesting. But yeah, so, I mean, there's tons of things we can go over here. The big thing... Okay, we got another question here from Stinky Shoes. We actually answered this earlier, but since he's tuning in now... it says, are the rumors that China is not telling the real death numbers? Is that true? I think we're in the same boat where it's likely, but we don't know.
Yeah. I think it's very likely. It's very possible. However, I cannot say yes or no on that.
Yeah.
I just don't have a direct answer to that question, unfortunately. The best that you can do, I think, is take the evidence, look at the different evidence from as reliable sources that you can, and then just try to make up your own opinion at this point.
Yeah.
Probably we'll never, hopefully we'll figure out what really happened eventually over there. But I would suspect that, we never will really know the full truth or the extent.
Yeah, tough
but I don't know.
To get to that kind of information, and
well, it's I think it's a form of control, isn't it? It's they don't want to lose what they have as far as governance and it's just and to be honest and be fair, I don't think governments all over the world are that forthcoming anyways.
I agree, and we also got some other interesting comments here. Fire on the Mountain Jones says, what do you guys think about the numbers being reported? Again, we went over that a bit earlier. If you just tuned in, I'll give you a quick summary. We are pretty certain that the numbers in general are lower than they should be, probably by a significant value. There was that Lancet report, weeks ago that guessed that the number was at 70,000, and that was like weeks ago. So yes, that I'd be willing to put down a good amount of money. I mean, they had that calculation issue a couple days ago where they had to they'd use CT scans to confirm who did or didn't have the virus, and they
Yes.
tacked on like 15 to 20,000 people overnight. I didn't know
Yes.
that, and I was doing a live stream, and I remember I checked when it was like 47,000. And then in the live stream, I pulled it up and I saw the spike. I didn't know why. And I was like, holy crap, like what happened? So it just shows that, there's something funny going on. Even if it could just be an issue of not having enough testing kits. It could be deliberate, but one way or another, we're not really getting the numbers that we should be.
Right. And I'm hoping that, that they are being as forthcoming as they can be. And hopefully as things get a little bit more calm over there, they can maybe be more forthcoming and get a little bit more accuracy. It's important to remember that what's going on in China right now is what we call in the medical community, it's a mass casualty incident. And a mass casualty incident overwhelms the medical department. Yeah. It's utter chaos. I cannot imagine, and I've been in mass casualty situations. I'm a former combat corpsman. I served in Iraq.
Wow, impressive.
I've dealt with mass casualties on the base where I had 5 Marines killed and whatnot. So I can tell you it puts a lot of stress, not just emotional, but also it stresses what your logistic supplies and what you have and what you can and what you physically have to use to help combat this situation. And it's hard. So I think with that going on, once that calms down, maybe we'll get some better numbers. Maybe we won't.
So I got another question here from Yasmin, kind of going down chronologically here. She says, my family and friends think I'm paranoid. I have a PhD, but it's quite possible. Do you think I'm over concerned living in old city center of a metropolis or metropole? I again, it depends on where you live. There's a lot of travel through your area, or at least from people that are from China. We really won't know. I mean, it looks promising that you're okay, but it doesn't hurt to take this seriously. What do you think of that?
I don't think she's being paranoid. I think it's something that is concerning. Yeah. With my knowledge of infectious diseases and my background in public health, this is a very concerning disease. And I think if you downplay it or you completely push it to the side, I think you're doing yourself a very big disservice, and it could be potentially dangerous for you. So no, I think if people want to tell you that you're crazy, so be it. And you know what? Even at the end of the day, if it turns up that you were a little bit over paranoid or whatever, who cares?
Right. At least you're kicking, and you may have potentially avoided something that,
absolutely
could have happened.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the way I've been kind of viewing this myself too. Like, I'm most certainly not an expert in the field, but it just, I didn't care a lot about Ebola. I didn't think it was much of a threat to us. But, a few weeks ago, I mean, that's how you and I met. We started seeing that things were getting a little concerning, a little bit worrisome. And, we got some other comments here. Let's see. William Priest says Yiba. I don't know what this means, but it's Yiba. Okay. DR says, my wife works in the hospital where patient 0 was in Everett. They sent him home, but no one ever heard anything about his condition. Wow. He says, you think the news world want to know more of a recovery of people who actually got hit and kind of harmed by it. Fire on the Mountain Jones says, they must think we're another term for dumb, but with thanks to you two, I want to get in trouble with possible easiness. He says, they must think we're dumb with the numbers they've been reporting. True.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for Sticky 3 Jones. Says, I got to go to bed. Great live, bro. Subja, your hair is amazing. Oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. So he says, so Yasu says, thank you a lot. Be safe. Of course. Hey, you too, stay in touch. I want to hear from you guys. My goal with these updates is I want to have a comprehensive network of people that around the world during this event, so we can share what we know, we can talk about this kind of stuff, and we can separate fear-mongering from downplaying, which I think are it's just people are jumping into these categories. We could take it seriously without freaking out, without losing sleep about this. And also, I think that this event could be a good way for a lot of strangers to maybe come together about a common threat here.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is all a big learning experience for all of us, I think.
Yeah.
And I think, you don't want to go far far down the road of fear mongering or far down the road of dismissing the whole thing either. I think it's healthy to be somewhere in the middle, and knowledge is everything. Talking to people that are in the area, such as myself, and people that have been in the area, it helps you kind of understand what's going on in this global world we live in. We often forget how close we are connected nowadays.
Yeah.
And that's one reason why disease spreads so fast as well too, because of air travel.
Agreed.
I mean, you could get a pathogen from China to the US in less than 24 hours.
It's incredible. And when I heard about the lockdown or the quarantines they were putting on China and the travel bans, just looking at we got a message from I'm going to get the name wrong. I'm sorry. Rurwin 10. Hopefully I got that right. Fear mongering versus downplaying. Good point. Right, dude. Like, I think there's a lot of both going on. To be honest,
absolutely,
I still get like visibly agitated when I have someone compare this to the flu. I gotta apologize to a friend like that I talked to right long ago. They did a comparison again to the flu, and I got irritated. I was like, it's not the flu. It's not the flu.
No,
and
you can't compare influenza with this disease. It just doesn't work well.
I gotta hunker down on myself about that, because I know I've been getting a little too short responding with it. I mean, you've seen a lot of it in the chat where I'm like, I've been making fun of that phrase day after day, like hashtag it. This is just the flu. So I've got.
I got irritated. Not to jump in for
go ahead.
Cut you off, but I got irritated. I come across a thread, because I've got a lot of quarantine people in Texas and I think Laughlin Air Force Base, and lots of people were saying, "Oh, great, let's bring the disease here." And I was kind of irritated by that, and I was like,
wow.
Look, we have to take care of our fellow Americans or our fellow countrymen, and every country has to do that, not just America. And taking our fellow Americans from a hot zone and bringing them to America is the right thing to do.
Yes.
Regardless of what I believe everybody else may feel. And the reason why I say that is because quarantine is a quarantine, and it can be done very safely. But what do? Do you leave your fellow Americans over there, or do you bring them back?
Right, because then you're...
And I got kind of upset about that because, me being military, we don't leave anybody behind.
Yeah, because think about this. Like, if that does happen, it's not just the here and now. I mean, you're talking about those kind of things that can stain a country's reputation for a long time. It's the modern world. You don't want to have that thing following your nation, even if it's some jerk that's trying to make that decision that doesn't care about the soldiers. Like, just look at the implications of something like that long term. It's horrible.
Yeah, and we have we have to help our fellow countrymen and our fellow people. The only way we're going to get through a pandemic like this is working together, not by being divisive.
I wholeheartedly agree about that. We got a message here. We got a few of them. Wow. Michelle Clark says, "I love this guest, first class. Please bring him back, Rob." Sure. Yes, I've had a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you so much. I'd love to come back anytime.
Love to have you back, man. We got Whirlwind 10 says, "What's the situation currently in Macau?" If you want to give a quick recap again for this new viewer here, we can.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. We had 10 confirmed cases. I believe as of today, 3 have been discharged from the hospital who have fully recovered. The city is basically locked down. We're a gambling city here. It's our only source of income here. We don't have any textiles or anything, and we don't export anything. Gaming is what keeps this city alive. And they've closed all 41 casinos. And I believe 5 hotels have now closed too. We're taking a big hit economically. We will bounce back because the government here has so much money from the gaming revenues. It's just ridiculous. But, some people are losing their jobs and can't go to work, or a lot of people are actually working from home. It's a scary situation for people, I think, overall. So you've got the fear of getting sick or getting your loved ones sick, or even, dying for that matter. And then you've also got this fear of, well, I've got to provide for my family, but how do I do that if I can't even go to work? Because most people here, either they work for the government, they work in the hotel industry, or the gaming industry.
Right.
And we're a tourist town, and we're going to take a big hit.
So
you know.
Another thing compounding what you brought up earlier, you were saying that there are regular announcements done on loudspeaker to tell people to stay inside right now, right?
Yes, that's correct.
That's definitely that I've never seen before, so that's fascinating. So
no, it's quite surreal. Unfortunately, past couple years, Macau has been increasingly closer to the mainland China, and with that happening, there's been a lot more security going on. So there's cameras going up all over the city. One thing that I didn't know is they've got an audio speaker on some of these things. So I posted a video of to you not that long ago. I don't know if you remember, of the city of Macau, and a little recording going over for prevention.
Oh, that's
measures.
hard. It was hard to forget that, man.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, dude. I must have watched that video over and over again, and my wife came to me. She said, "Why do you keep watching that?" I said, "Because it's surreal, man.
Right.
I can't believe like it's something that you would see in a movie, you know, or a sci-fi movie." And I'm like, dude, we're stuck right in the middle of it. It's strange to me, you know. And I've been through a lot of strange shit. Pardon the expression.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, man.
So it's quite surreal, man. It really is.
I can only imagine. So we got a lot of comments actually just now too. Let me try to run through them chronologically. If I missed you guys, please let me know. So we got Ego says, congratulations on the live stream and on your excellent information. Here in Brazil, there are a lot of suspects, but no confirmed cases. Now, this is what's fascinating. Yasmin just poured out. Now, she mentioned she was from Turkey. I got to confirm this, but I'll look at this in a second. She brought up, by the way, we have not a single case here, just suspected cases, and the main media was so silent, but now it's on the news. So not a single case. For a second, I misread that as they had the first case, and I was like, oh, what are the odds? So correction, I read that wrong. She says, I'm concerned also because our Ministry of Health showed up on TV and announced that Turkey is on the way to produce a cheaper tester kit for the coronavirus. That's good. World 110 says, by the way, quarantine is not intended to protect those quarantined. It's a purpose to protect everybody else. Correct.
Yes, that's correct.
Yep. Yasmin says, by the way, we've not had a single case here. Just I mentioned that before. Ego says, did you hear about the Indian who was panicked, afraid of being infected, and committed suicide? Followed up by DR saying, Ego, I watched a thing, China CGTN channel about it. A bunch of people who had committed suicide. Have you heard about that?
I've only heard of the one suicide case. I believe was the Indian man who thought he had the disease and didn't, and committed suicide. That's the only thing that I've heard. The thing is, too, is the only way that you get information from the mainland is people sneaking videos out half the time, because remember, information is controlled over there. Being in Macau, information isn't controlled as much. I've got access to everything out here, whereas over there they don't. So that's something to keep in mind, too, when you're dealing with people ask, well, why is it so hard to get information out? Well, that's the main reason right there.
Yeah. Another quick question, too. This is a good one. Let's see. Actually, yeah, sort of Yasmin. She says, isn't it illogical? Why bother if there's no case? Anyways, how will they test it if there's no cases? Correct. That's another thing that was confusing about the New York City incident, the first person that was suspected in New York, how they said that they quarantined him, but then they said, hey, watch out for this. And they were giving precautions to avoid getting the virus. But you just told us that, you know, you have the person quarantined and there's nothing to worry about. So why are you telling us to do these preventative measures for the same virus? So I think the same thing's happening over there, which is a little bit concerning, that maybe the nations of the world, I mean, I think a good way to judge how rough the virus is to judge less what they are saying and judge more on their response to the virus.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And before this all kicked off, I told a lot of people, probably this is before I met you, I think. Yeah. But I told a lot of people one of the keys to look at to know, you know, how serious this really is look and see what the WHO, the World Health Organization, does. And at that time when I was saying this, they hadn't declared this disease a global emergency yet. Right. 3 or 4 days later after that, the WHO came back and they said, look, we screwed up, man. We got it wrong. Yeah. So if you look at what's going on, I would say if you're not concerned, then I don't know what would make you be concerned, because it is a very concerning issue. And we're not out of the woods yet.
I don't think we're close
yet. This is going to be ongoing for a few months.
Yep. And I think that the United States, like, from what I've gathered, it seems like there is a significant chance that we really haven't begun over here at all yet.
No, and that's what I was saying to you earlier. You just got all these quarantine people back from Wuhan. They're at Lachlan. You've got people in San Diego, and right now is when you're going to start seeing symptoms popping up.
Yeah.
So these next 2 weeks are going to be very telling for the United States and for the world, for that matter. I think Singapore has 50 cases. It started off, it was in China, then it went to Taiwan, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, Korea. Now it's Germany, France, the UAE, Russia shut down their entire border with China.
That's incredible.
They've closed their entire border with China. Russia has. If that doesn't scare people, I don't know what else does.
Let's see. Blender Master said, I had to stop doing Uber because my wife got scared of me picking up people from the airport. I switched to food delivery, and now picking up food from Chinese places, the struggle, and the message is blocked. Well, we got new messages. Oh, wow. So yeah, the struggle is real. Yeah, man. That is a good point. We also have DR. Actually, yeah. So here's good. We'll start with the world one first. He says, are Macau residents allowed to travel to Hong Kong? That's a good question.
As far as I know, yes, but they've closed most of the ports of entry for us to get over there. The most easiest and popular way most of the time to get to Hong Kong is you just take a ferry, a boat. It takes about an hour. They've closed that. The only way to get there now is to go on the Hong Kong Zhuhai Macau Bridge, which takes about 30 minutes, and it takes you over to Lantau Island, close to the airport. So we can get there. But the options for that are a lot less. And like for me, if I was to go to Hong Kong, I wouldn't want to go on the bridge because if I was going to a medical appointment, it's in a completely different part of the city. So it's way out of the way. So it's not that convenient at the moment. We can, but it's not convenient.
Interesting. We got another question from a couple of comments here from DR. He says one guy couldn't go home to his family and had to rent a room and then jumped off a bridge. Another lady's mentally ill brother tried to slash his wrist because they've been locked in for so long and the paramedics would not come. People's mental health is definitely suffering. I agree there. Michelle Clark says absolutely a response. We're agreeing what we said earlier. Whirlwind Sense agreed with us earlier too, saying 100%. Watch your actions, not the words. Yasmin, I totally agree. Thanks. True. Yasmin says the government should give more info, and to be honest, all of them agreed. But I understand. They don't want panic.
Yes.
This is what you have to do. I made a joke during that. I actually had to turn away and cough for a second. I was like, I said, I swear it's allergies. I was eating these hot peanuts, and the powder makes me cough. And it was like, oh, guys, not sick. So just want to point that out. Another one says, Yasmin says, what medical drugs do you advise to buy just in case I have to stay home and have the cold or even the ordinary flu? Cough syrup.
I would just get OTC medications.
Yep.
If you've got some antibiotics from your doctor, keep them on board. It's simple stuff like amoxicillin or Keflex or doxycycline. However, please don't take them unless you've been told by a doctor to.
Yeah.
We don't want to, help create super bugs any more than we already have.
They'll go pop in Cipro for no good reason.
Oh man, yeah. Stay away from Cipro.
I've been on
don't take Cipro.
Yeah, that was rough. So that wraps up the main questions from the comments of the moment. But dude, I expected we were gonna have a decent amount of people tuning in, but this has exceeded my expectations significantly. So, we got another one here. Lotrimin extract is antiviral when you don't want to go to the hospital. Old proven stuff. True. Speaking of antivirals, I am actually curious about this on my own accord because I've talked to some people that were like registered nurses about this one, and it seems to be a split. What do you think of colloidal silver?
That's a good question. And that can be a bit controversial as well. Yeah. I mean, if you can get it and you can keep it on board, then go for it. Me being a former provider and stuff like that, I'm kind of hesitant to give information because I always think going to the doctor is the best bet because, I think people who don't know what they're doing tend to try to take care of themselves, and sometimes they do more harm than good. That's a good question. I don't know if I can really answer you guys on that one right now. If you have access to it and you can keep it, then go for it, I guess.
I think with the silver,
that's a good question though.
Right. So
You know,
DR
I
said a good
do
point
know
about
that as far as this disease is concerned, they have successfully treated some patients with HIV retroviral drugs and antiviral drugs. I don't remember what the antiviral drug was that the Thai is used to cure a guy.
Yeah, I had the name. I forgot it.
Yeah, I know it's not Tamiflu, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah. So compounding on the silver thing.
Yeah.
So I think with the suggestion of silver from earlier was more about in case like you had like a sinus infection or something that wasn't a big deal. And I think that from what I've gathered, silver it's handy. I've used it on tour for my voice when I felt like I was getting an infection. It seems that silver is good when you're feeling bad, but not all the time. Much like anything else, that's where the blue thing happens. That the famous your skin will turn blue thing. So because I got a bottle right in front of me, and it's like kind of I have like an in case of emergency like vocal health bag, and that's one of the guys I've had around for that. Let's see.
I've never used it, and I've never actually prescribed it to anybody either. So I am familiar with it, but I haven't ever used it myself.
So it says Resavir or Residivar. I think I got the name wrong, but that's what they're saying might be one of the drugs you're mentioning.
Okay.
So yeah, those are. I definitely want to pull those up. I've read as well that those HIV and flu drugs were apparently helpful, but I mean, again, when it comes to different people, different things work for different people. But I did read that yes, there was some success. I also did read, and I got to confirm this. I checked some sources. It looks like this is confirmed. Speaking of nations in an area, it looks to me that I think there was 10,000 quarantine in Thailand, I believe, or Vietnam. Yeah, Vietnam. So that's
wow.
Yeah, let me go pull that.
That many.
Yeah, let's go double check that so I can
Yeah. Check that out. Since when?
Let's find that out. Coronavirus, Vietnam. The great thing, since we're not actually playing a game, I can go back on the internet and browse things, because usually with the game, it just overloads the system. So let's take a look. Vietnam quarantine. I think it's Vietnam. Yeah. Vietnam quarantines rule. This is a Reuters. So Vietnam quarantines rural community of 10,000 because of coronavirus.
Oh, wow.
Well, so
I think you're going to see a lot more of that pop up in other countries.
Yeah, that's concerning.
And I think you're going to see it kind of stagger around a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think there'll be what you'll see is it's going to be kind of like a roller coaster. We'll have an increase in either deaths or an increase in infections, and then it'll kind of level off a little bit, and then it'll pop up somewhere else. And then so you have that whole back and forth type movement that's going to be going around worldwide for a little while.
So Yasmin, this is interesting. I think you and I are going to probably have some similar recommendations for what she's mentioning here. So let me go start off with a couple of the comments here. It says, I stocked up on food 2 weeks ago from Blender Master, a new person in here. Hey, how you doing, man? Stocked up on food 2 weeks ago. My family laughed at me. They're not laughing now. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Like, thankfully, my family, yeah, they're kind of similar to me, where they're very suspicious of stuff at times like this. And so my parents were very like receptive to my suggestions. Iego says panic can be a big villain too, correct? Whirlwind 10, COVID-19 is a viral infection on bacterial, so antibacterials have no value, correct? I think that's correct. We're just mentioning the antibacterials in case, like, you're locked down and you have an infection and you have to clear it. So that's kind of more where we're recommending for this. But yeah,
if I could touch on that real quick, we're recommending the antibacterials is if you're stuck in your house for a long time and you get sick, because the last thing that you want to do in a true epidemic and an outbreak is go to the hospital.
Yeah.
You do not, I repeat, you do not want to be in a hospital. It's the worst place you could possibly be during an outbreak.
Not only that, but like that seems like it's easily the worst place to be. And I think another bad place to be during an outbreak is the supermarket, at least if there's not a good quarantine going on.
Sure.
Panicking.
Sure.
You don't want to be involved in that. So let's see. Quick question here. Yasmin says thanks, and hopefully my sister's a medical doctor. She doesn't even believe me, maybe. So DR says you take silver when you feel like coming down with something. Correct. At least that's how I take it. Yasmin says vitamins ? And then she says Michelle says when my lungs get watery with a flu or something, I drink echinacea tea. Hey, that's a fun singer remedy. Dries everything up. Afterwards, I eat some yogurt for a few days and put the gut bacteria back. Very good, especially if you have antibiotics. You want to get
echinacea is great for immunity. So is bromelain and curcumin.
Is that based on turmeric too? Or
Yeah,
yeah.
it's similar. It's from the same root. Yeah.
Yeah, I love turmeric. I keep
Yeah.
I drink golden milk on days I don't feel very well, so I kind of mix that with almond milk, and it's got black pepper, ashwagandha.
Hmm.
Ashwagandha's become probably my favorite supplement. Let's see.
Be careful with some of those supplements, though.
Yeah,
A lot of that stuff that people don't know is it could be hard on your kidneys and your liver too. So
yeah, not
make sure
regular.
you're checking that out as well. Just
Yeah.
a little bit off topic, but I can't help it. I'm a medical
No,
guy.
by all means, dude. Actually, I kind of detoxed recently. I was on too many supplements recently, and I kind of had to just cut them all out lately, and I feel a lot better. So I feel you there. It definitely slows stuff down. So it says, Yasmin says, I heard the sunshine is good also for protection and vitamin D. Yeah, dude, I dose on
Oh,
I
absolutely.
take about
Yes.
10,000 IU of vitamin D,
Yeah.
especially on days I don't get out much. Like, I
Yeah.
read that there were reports that in places that did not have a lot of sunlight, apparently cities where people were not getting enough of it, there was also a correlative, there's also a correlative amount of suicides in the area. You know, lack of vitamin D, like, it can just really mess you up. So yes, if you can't get sunlight, that's obviously the first best way to get vitamin D. Correct me if I'm wrong here, and I think that then if you cannot though, then getting it from food sources or getting a supplement is then the way to go.
Sure.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So
And
yep.
I think the vitamin D2 recommended dosage for that is every 2 days. I don't think you take that every day,
Interesting. I
but
wonder
I'd
if
have to.
I had to stop doing that because I was wondering if I was taking too much. Perhaps that's why then. That's very interesting. So it says we got another one here. It says Michelle, or you got DR says yes, best way to get it. Michelle says, yeah, Yasmin, I sit by the window for vitamin D when I'm outside for at least 20 minutes of vitamin D. You know, I gotta start doing that. I've been lazy. I just on days I don't feel like getting enough vitamin D, I'll take a pill, which I probably should get the natural stuff, but at least especially now since we can still walk around and whatnot. Let's see. Yasmin says, I'm not fake, just a concerned retired academician. I used to teach educational statistics. Wow, there are so many people with
Oh,
interesting
wow.
backgrounds that that I'm meeting through this. This is amazing. So quick question, Yasmin, if you don't mind, what PhD do you have? I'm just kind of just interested here.
Yeah, I'd like to know too. Absolutely.
My friend Ashley here, Sonic Buster, she commented as we're waiting for that response. Sonic Buster says, my parents have a very tiny fallout shelter, thankfully, so even if they don't believe it will get that bad, they're still prepared anyways. I'm a little too broke to stock up on my own, so I have to hope to get the best. Interesting enough, Ashley, she's actually in our chat. She had the misfortune of ordering Chrono Trigger in early January, and it still hasn't come in yet, and she ordered it from Wuhan. And it was just like, oh, you ordered Chrono Trigger from the coronavirus city. Interesting. I mean, you're fine, but like we just know like there's always a tiny chance that it may survive. I don't know, but I mean, it's too long to really. It's most likely ruled out, but it was just funny. It was just kind of like, you ordered it from where?
Right.
But she's she's fine. So
I
yep.
think far and wide the post services and everything is safe.
Yeah.
I don't think that you're gonna get a transmission from something like that.
Yeah, I think so. It just for a second it was just kind of this funny. Yeah, DR, thanks a lot, man. Thanks for subscribing. It was kind of like it was almost like a Seinfeld moment. Like you wrote it
Right.
from where? But I was realistically you're fine. It just was a funny moment. Like what? So Ego says in Macau are the N95 masks are they missing or are they low basically?
It's a good question. I don't know. I've got N95 masks because my father-in-law owns a paint store.
Ooh,
All the masks that are being given out are just regular surgical masks.
interesting.
I don't know if you can find N95s out in town or not. I'm sure somebody has them, and they're probably either expensive or they're sold out.
Yeah,
That's a good question. I haven't been out looking for stuff because we have everything that we need here already, so we haven't had to go out for those kind of supplies. We only go out for groceries.
I got I got my N95s in here too. I'd say I've got maybe 10 to 15 of them stocked up.
Yeah.
I've got I've got the hazmat suit I've kind of put together in case I don't think I'm gonna need it, but it's not very expensive to get one with goggles and all that. But on the off chance, we have a crap hit the fan moment. It's good to have it, I suppose. It's kind of my logic. Like I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And
Well, that's like me when I go back home to Texas, I always carry a gun, and my wife says, "Well, why do you want to do that?" And I said, "Well, I'd rather have a gun and not need it than need a gun and not have it."
Yeah, I was thinking. I wish I was able to get my hands on that for self defense, but that's like one of the last things I wish I was able to stock up on. I don't in Maryland. It takes a while to get a license, so I've got other ways to defend myself here, but I don't think it'll get to that. I actually am pretty confident it will not. But at some point after all this is over with, I'd like to just have one in the back pocket here in case, living alone, you just never know to have that kind of defense.
Absolutely.
So at some point, be good. So let's see. Michelle says, "What have you been eating day by day?" If you want to start, go. Yeah, she's probably an intense question for you, but I'll answer after you.
I just eat normal. I mean, I'm not eating that much. I'm eating maybe once or twice a day, not because of any particular reason, but because I'm just stuck at home and I'm just not hungry. We're eating regular food: chicken, fish, pasta, bread. So yeah, everything's okay in that department over here.
No rations.
Everybody in Macau has plenty of food, so
that's good. From where I am, obviously in the Baltimore region, nothing's happened really yet. But I've been on a pretty strict diet the past. I probably maybe about almost like a year or two at this point. But for me, it's just calorie counting, count my protein. If I indulge, it'll be like one or two bad foods for the day, and I make sure I get at least 30 minutes of about 300 calories worth of cardio in. I try to get a little bit of weight training in about maybe 3 times a week, but I get the cardio in about 4 to 5 times a week. And I also been stocking up on green powder, so like spirulina, cholera, all that stuff to really get the superfoods in there. I also been experimenting with celery powder. I've been reading that there are some compounds in it that help you with sleep and stress, so I do that. But yeah, I protein powder, I always try to get plant-based. I don't really tolerate whey very well, so that's kind of my diet.
Yeah, everybody's different. I used to be a bodybuilder, and I'm not eating much anymore. To be honest with you, after about 10 years of having to eat every 2 hours, I got tired of it. It's ruined food for me. So yeah, my diet isn't clean and on point like it used to be, but I'm also not bodybuilding as much anymore as I used to after I had a kid.
Yeah, I can imagine, dude. Like I know for what I when I started this about 2 years ago, I put on about maybe 20 pounds of muscle, but those are kind of the newbie gains. Like I think those are the easy ones. Tons of protein and kind of eat whatever I wanted. And then I think I spent the better part of a year and a half cutting. Like I had to get about I'd say about maybe from June about oh cool, we got 100 messages today. Just because it's chat, that's cool. So yeah, I had to cut like about maybe 40 pounds from June to September. But roughly that amount. And I've been kind of a little lazy lately. I've been experimenting with intermittent fasting. If I really feel lazy, I'll do a 24-hour fast once a week to kind of get a autophagy up. Maybe get some natural HGH production.
Right.
Yeah, that's been kind of me. Let's see. We got Sonic Buster Ashley has an update about the game. She says it's still locked down though. It's not valid for delivery. It just makes her a fun little side story about that game. Like it just from Wuhan. Like what are the odds? Like that's like that's like some George Costanza luck. I'm so sorry that had to happen. Like Wuhan, are you kidding? Like I would have laughed at this point. Like are you really coronavirus? I think a chrono trigger from the coronavirus city. You ain't gonna see that for a while, unfortunately. So let's see. Carl Avery, have they determined a verified point of origin? So I think we talked a bit about what we did. Yeah. So long story short, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it looks like it is from bats, but we don't. It's not. We're not going to know for a while, but it looks more likely to be from animals and less likely to be a bioweapon. But we've not ruled bioweapon out.
Yeah, my consensus is. From a scientific approach, it is mostly zoonotic from bats or other exotic animals that were eaten that falls in line with the coronavirus. At this point, I don't think it's a bioweapon. However, it is possible that this is a virus that did get out of a lab as well, too. That's possible. The bioweapon is also possible. I just think at this point, there are better scenarios to go by than that at this point. But hopefully we will find out eventually.
Yeah, it's less likely for sure. Oh yeah. So Sonic Buster says, "I suppose if I get it, we'll officially refer to it as my copy of Corona Trigger from now on." Yeah, really. This way to go. Michelle says, "I think I need green powder to stock up in case fruit and vegetables are hard to come by. I never thought of getting green powder, dude. It's convenient. I don't think it's quite as
Yeah.
nutritional as the actual greens themselves, but it does cover a lot of great stuff in there. For what I have learned, spirulina and cholera are two of the most nutrient dense foods on the planet.
Yeah.
So getting those in there is really good. It's low calorie. I got some good brands from Amazon that I stocked up on. I try to get at least that in once a day, and a scoop of celery powder in there. Oops. And with plant-based protein, as long as you make sure you get a complete one. And also I try to cover with a branched chain amino acid drink afterwards. So in case I don't quite hit my macros for protein, I can at least cover with those to protect from muscle wastage. Or at least that's the plan.
For those people that are looking into getting, plant-based supplements, et cetera, there's a really good app that you could use. It's in the US. It's really cheap, and the delivery is really fast. It's called iHerb.
Oh, interesting.
So if you're not familiar with that, go on to iHerb and download it from your apps and check it out. It's a good place to get herbal supplements, et cetera.
I'll have to look into that. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
We got a comment here from Carl Avery. He says, the fact that Wuhan is sending fire trucks with cannon sprayers of disinfectant and guys in hazmat suits using leaf blower sprayers is all I need to see. Haha. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's looking kind of intense over there. And Sonic Buster says, now that I think about it, I have 2 to 3 kinds of protein powder we could live off for a while, and a moderate store of crappy canned vegetables. True. I mean, again, protein powder is, I think for prepping, a lot of times I've noticed protein powder is kind of overlooked. Because it's not a solid food. I think it's kind of a newer thing compared to canned foods. I have protein powders that I have just never finished. When I got into adding mass, I had carnivore beef protein isolate. I got carnivore shred, which is the same stuff with green tea extract and caffeine. I got 3 different kinds of plant-based protein, and I have a bunch of Spartan Nutrition whey. That was before I stopped taking whey. With Spartan Nutrition, I wish I could still have it because that stuff tastes like Lucky Charms or other cereals. Like, we get different flavors. Holy crap. It's like 2 grams of sugar, 100 calories, and it's like 21 grams of protein. Like, that's stupid good macros, and it tastes great, but I don't do well with whey, so it's like, oh. So those are gone now.
Yeah. Everybody tolerates everything differently.
Yeah.
Whey is okay for me as long as I don't use Optimum Nutrition. If I use Optimum Nutrition, I get upset stomach.
Yeah,
I actually don't take any protein supplements anymore.
When you were bodybuilding, did you take a lot of them back then?
I did. I've put a lot of things in my body to build muscle. I was my normal weight. I'm about 5'9". My normal weight is really about 140 before I bodybuild. And then I think the heaviest I got was about 190.
Oh, interesting. I think we're similar builds. I'm 5'10", and right now I used to be at my heaviest, maybe about 200, maybe 202, and now I'm about 165, 164, and at my lightest I was 158, and I'm trying to get back down to there now.
Yeah, I think I'm about 80 kilograms, which is I think about close to 170 pounds. I think, something close to that. I don't really know. I'm a bit out of shape, to be honest with you. I've had some medical issues past 2 years, and then having a kid too, 2 years ago. So it complicates things. And I'm getting older, so.
Have you
young people?
Yeah.
Stay in shape, man.
So I another quick question. This is not exactly coronavirus related, but I am curious based on your background in bodybuilding and in health. Are you familiar much with SARMs?
A little bit, not much. I have a friend that's really into that.
Yeah.
And I talked to another friend about that not too long ago, who sadly he passed away in December. But he was a 20-year user of performance enhancing drugs, and he said SARM's not good. So
yeah. I think if I recall correctly, it was selective androgen receptor modulators. I think's the name of it. I'm very, very.
I think that is correct. Yes.
I'm very proud of myself that I remembered that.
But I've got one friend that thoroughly believes in that, and he says it's really safe. That's one reason why I'm not as big as I used to be. I'm not willing to put things in my body that I used to be willing to put in my body when I was younger, especially after becoming a father. I care a little bit more about being around for my daughter.
Yeah.
so there are things that I'm not willing to use anymore. I used HGH and all kinds of stuff before,
wow,
but
HGH, that's something. Wow.
yeah, I used that probably for about 10 years, I think.
Wow. Definitely want to get back. I think we kind of could have a podcast about the nutritious stuff. We actually got a lot of questions and comments, so I do want to get to those. But I think it could be a lot of fun if we had we could have a stream literally about just supplements and all this stuff, because I've learned a lot about it over the last 2 years, but I'm still hungry for new knowledge, and I think we'd have a very productive discussion about that. That
Sure.
being said, let's go over some comments. Okay, so Diego says nature does the job of a biological weapon. Yeah, I could see that with some of these viruses for
absolutely.
sure.
Yep.
Sonic Buster says that's why I have so many different kinds, because we like some and not others. They're so pricey to keep, so we keep them anyways. Kind of. Somewhere here too. Imodium blocks the SARS coronavirus spike protein, and why do you guys send these big words to me, buddy? It says angiotensin converting enzyme 2 interaction imodium is found in rhubarb and Japanese knotweed. Okay, interesting. I have to look into that.
Interesting.
So Michelle says, I tolerate ground up powders the best only when they are labeled vegan. And Yasmin says, since there's so many mild cases even without symptoms, what advices would be good for a better immune system? What should we do? Advices, I already know one you're probably going to say. Let me see if I can beat you to it. Sleep. That's a good one.
Yep. Sleep, exercise, balanced, healthy diets, vitamin C, plenty of zinc. Zinc boosts the immunity. Vitamin C boosts the immunity. Echinacea, if you've got some of that, you can take that in a tea form or capsule form. And just being healthy. Get outside, exercise. Exercise does wonder for the body. The more you exercise, the less sick you are.
Would you say that if you could find ways to reduce cortisol, would that have a positive effect on the system?
Yeah, I mean, we know that cortisol can have drastic effects on our immune system. So anything that can bring those levels down would definitely be helpful. Exercise being the key in a lot of that as well too, and just learning how to manage and control your own stress.
Yeah. So the reason I bring that up was when I was trying to cut, my big problem was cortisol. I really needed to calm down, and so I started looking into the effects of ashwagandha, and that helped me keep cortisol down. And when I was taking that, I started noticing my weight was kind of, all the dieting I had been doing finally was paying off. So in general, if you can, I recommend if you could get your hands on some ashwagandha. It's cheap. There's a lot of studies behind it, a lot of published studies. It's really good. And also, speaking of cortisol reduction, what are your thoughts on CBD oil?
I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good tool to use. I use it off and on. I haven't really been able to objectively say, okay, the CBD oil has done this for me. I suffer from post-traumatic stress from Iraq and some anxiety, and so I've used it in the past to try to help me with that. Excuse me.
Sure.
And I haven't really noticed a huge difference. It is something that you have to use quite a while, I'm told, as well.
Yeah, it needs to build up.
I think the science with it is strong, and I'm a big proponent of CBD and marijuana for medical reasons. And shit, if you just want to toke up, man.
Yeah.
So.
I think CBD helped me out. I was when I did a really brutal cut in June where I had to do I think it was 800 calories a day, but I had to do 160 grams of protein, cram that inside that amount. And I wasn't really losing as fast as I wanted. And then I had to go on tour. And then on tour, I didn't eat that well, but I was taking CBD with me. And I noticed when I came back, because we were gone for a whole week, and I was terrified to look at the scale. I thought I would have lost the work I put in. In fact, when I got back, I had lost a pound. So I think it was the cortisol helped my body kind of adjust to the work I had now put in.
So
that's handy.
Probably right on the money there, bud.
Yeah, it was good. So yeah, cortisol is a big deal, and if you can help keep that down, which is part of why, again, I want to stress. It's another reason why in these sessions or these live streams, I want to stress that this is about generating concern for the virus, but not fear, because fear is literally going to be a detriment to your ability to fight this virus. So there's no point in cultivating that.
Well, absolutely, and I think that goes, with everything in life. When you panic in a serious situation, you die.
Yep.
You forget things. You do things impulsively that you wouldn't normally do. So fear is definitely fear can be both a positive and a negative thing. So use the positive from the fear, but don't allow it to go to the, so far gone that you're in the negative part of that. Use the fear to prepare. Use the fear to educate yourselves, but don't panic.
Don't cave into it. Yeah, it's a tool.
Yeah.
It's a tool to help alert you to threats, but it's not something that should overwhelm
it's just
you.
like stress. Stress can be a positive or a negative thing. It's the same thing with fear. So just take a deep breath, relax, and make an informed decision. Don't make an informed decision based on emotion.
So Yasmin just headed out. She says, bye now, out of battery. Be safe. Thanks to both of you. Oh, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Yasmin.
Yeah, thank you so much. I hope I get to see you again in a future stream. We have some other comments. Yes, indeed. Unfortunately, in this situation, I feel like it would get really bad really fast because someone commented saying, he also before that said, I highly doubt the U.S. would react anywhere near as well to a martial law situation. We have too many deviants with no respect for authority or direction here, possibly. And she says, then responded by Ashley saying it's sometimes good or bad thing. And he says, yes, indeed. Unfortunately, the situation, I feel like it would get bad very fast. She then responds, Ashley then says, I like CBD oil. I found that it helps my ADHD and anxiety. I've enjoyed it. I forgot to take mine for a while. She says if I take it constantly, it wanes. True, like for me, I did the same thing. But if I use it when I have a spike in ADHD or anxiety, I take a fair dose and it absolutely takes the edge off. That's when Yasmin had to leave. Michelle says echinacea only when you are not recovering like you should be from an illness. It is strong, not for every day. When chicken soup rest says when chicken soup and rest and tea and honey don't work, then take echinacea. Okay, yeah, that seems to
I agree with that. I think like that went back to something I said earlier. A lot of these things we think because they're supplements and they're natural that they're safe to take, and by and large they are. However, a lot of these supplements can also do a lot of damage to your kidneys and or your liver, and so you need to do do your research on them and take them appropriately as well too.
Yeah, agreed. Moving forward, she says, actually, that's all the ones. So, yeah, that being said, guys, this has been a lot of fun. If you guys, I'm probably going to do another one of these so we can keep updates on what's going on in Macau. And I also have a friend in the UK I want to bring on here, Wes. He's been on my channel about 4 or 5 years ago for some other stuff. Excuse me. But I do want to try to see if we can make this a network. So, I want to hear from everybody. I want to really stress that this is something we're going to keep our eyes on. We're going to keep alerted to. But in the end, we're going to be okay, but our chances of being okay are going to be increased significantly more if we stay active, if we stay aware, and we stay constructive about the things we learn. We got Carl. He says, the best thing I've seen about this virus is one that says, oh, yeah, hey, I've seen this one too. Hey, anti-vaxxers, now's your chance to go to China and prove it. I suppose so.
Yeah, I heard that one. I saw that as well, too. It gave me a good chuckle.
Yeah, it's not to be messed with. I think I'm going to be doing hashtag it's just the flu for about at least another year or so. I've got mileage on that one. I'll be
there you go.
Running that one into the ground. No one's going to ever want to say that joke to me or that line to me ever again. I shared in our group, actually, that there were some interesting parallels to an article I found from 1917, and it was about downplaying the Spanish influenza when it first was reported. And it was a lot of the same things that we're seeing here. Not saying this virus is as bad, but it was a lot of the downplaying where it was like, we've had the flu, it's something.
Well, that makes sense from a human perspective, though, does it not?
Yeah.
It does to me anyways.
We don't really want to, a lot of people can't really handle that kind of information. Like, hey, this is bad, it's coming. So I understand, like, you really don't want, I think there's a lot of people when they're confronted with this, and I think that's part of why I've gotten a lot of resistance from some friends I've warned, that they get very defensive about this and they start trying to downplay everything like it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. And it's like, I think it's a reaction.
That's also a defense mechanism for a lot of people too, to try and reassure themselves that everything is going to be okay. And I like to caveat off of what you said a minute ago. We are going to be okay.
Yeah.
This isn't the Spanish flu. I don't think we're looking at 100 million people dead. I think we're going to have a higher death toll than what we have now. It'll be a few months. This could take a whole year to really clean out completely. It could take longer than that, and the economic repercussions will be seen for quite a while after this worldwide.
Yeah.
Be vigilant, be safe, protect yourself, protect your family, and take it seriously. But go on with your lives at the same time. You know, life doesn't stop for this, and life does continue. And you know, next year we'll be able to look back at this and say, oh my gosh, you know, we lived through a major pandemic. You
We
know,
beat this.
2020, what a
Yeah.
year.
We beat this. We applied ourselves. We saw a challenge that came our way. We were smart about it, constructive about it, and we're still here. That's the way I try to view this stuff too. Like, this is something that we can beat. This is something that we can put our minds to. And I'm not gonna. My biggest thing is it's not so much being afraid of the virus, but for me, it's I'm afraid of the idea that I'll be caught off guard, and I don't want that to happen. So
Sure.
I want to be ready for that.
Absolutely. And I think it's also important to, I think we all have a stake. We all have a stake in this, but we all need to be mindful of what we're posting and the information that we're putting out. If it sounds funny, try to follow up on it before you put out, because there are many people that just read and scroll in this day and age, and they will take anything that's out there in the masses as God and truth. And we don't want to be responsible for helping to spread the misinformation. So if you're not 100% sure about something, do the research first, or ask somebody, and let's figure it out. But let's try to keep the fear to a minimum, because you know, at this point, we need some calmness, and we need some level-headed thinking going on. You know,
Right.
that's my opinion, anyways.
I think the best thing that we could describe, like the most constructive thing to or have right now is not really fear, but just decisiveness. That's a good thing.
Yes,
that's a good word for this.
Absolutely.
Decisiveness. That's what I'm trying to imply on or convey to all my friends. You know, it's not a case of I'm terrified. It's look what's happening across the world. Now is a good time to be decisive, to be ahead of this. But not because it's you know, it's the end of the world. The chances of this, I mean, there's not a lot we don't know about the virus, but I can say, like, if I was a betting man, I would say I would not bet that this is going to be a world-ending kind of virus, but it could change things for all of us, and that's worth enough preparing for.
It very well could be, and now, like you said, now is the time. The thing is we just don't know yet,
right,
what's going to happen. I don't think I'd be very, very surprised if this was, you know, like I said earlier, the level of the Spanish flu type thing.
Right.
It does tick the boxes of a kind of viral infection that can get out of hand very carefully. And that's what's been concerning to me. I originally got into public health because I found infectious diseases fascinating, particularly Ebola, Marburg, hantavirus, HIV, a host of sexually transmitted diseases like syphilis and things like that, tuberculosis that just are super interesting, and that's what I got into this field for. I started out as a combat medic, a combat corpsman, and then I progressed into preventive medicine, into public health, and that's how I came to be in the field that I am. However, I haven't been working. I've been teaching for about 13 years, but I do stay in touch with everybody in all the in the medical field, and I keep up to date on things. We're ahead of it right now, but we could fall behind very quickly. So now's the time to prepare.
Yeah.
Don't wait until the last minute, guys.
Another quick question we got here, and as you answer this, I'm just going to walk across the room and get a water. So it says, has the virus shown any favoring towards specific ethnicities? And I'm going to grab a water, but if you want to answer that, I'll be right back.
I would say no. And you see more Chinese people with it at the moment, but that will probably change. The reason why there are more Chinese with it is because, it originated here in China, and everybody that has passed that disease on overseas has been Chinese because of the travel. This disease started at the worst time. It was first identified in the middle of December, and took off, January. I can't remember when it really kicked off, but this is the Chinese New Year. This is when millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of Chinese travel. And the timing couldn't be worse for a disease of this nature.
Yeah,
It really couldn't be.
So we got some new comments here. Actually, I coincidentally, right when I stood up, I found the water right next to my chair, so we're all good. But it said, so we got here, the defensive mechanism people use to not scare themselves is called minimizing, basically spinning something serious into a joke. That's part of it, yes. But literally, I was kind of more referencing people that say things like, "Oh, it's just the flu. It's just the flu. My immune system's fine." All those things. Like it just is like, okay, you're just trying to bury your head in the sand.
There's a difference between minimizing and completely denying, I think.
Right.
And that's a very useful survival technique. I mean, being a combat vet myself, I can't tell you, we do it all the time as combat vets. It's just a survival technique, and there's nothing wrong with it. But the thing is, I think when you're in denial and you really are way off, then that could be a little bit dangerous. I think that's why I've been using the word concerning a lot with this virus. I think you need to be concerned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. That's the level I was trying to get people that I know at. I think the group that you and I were in, actually, come to think about it, actually, that group that you and I met in, I think that group doesn't exist anymore now. It's just a fun caveat to point out.
Oh, interesting.
That was the one where those those videos I mentioned were in, and
okay.
I raised a bunch of trouble in there, understandably so. Going back to the whole fear versus concern thing, I saw a lot of people in that group that were sharing whatever terrible things they could with no research whatsoever. And so again, we started off with the people that were most people where I live, they downplay it. They think nothing's going to happen. And then people in the groups that are, a lot of these people are going in there because they just thrive on fear and terror, and they'll spread whatever. And in those, I was like, I want to find somewhere where that in between where we're concerned, but we're not, sharing gory videos with no research whatsoever just to scare people.
Doomsday videos of the end of the world type stuff. Yeah, and I think that's a bigger problem and another topic. That's social media. It's a terrible thing. It's a great tool, but it's also a terrible tool, and it allows people a platform to spread misinformation and fear relatively easily. And like you said, there are people that get off on it, and then there's some people that just like to be asses and troll. So yeah, you owe it. I think we owe it to ourselves and our friends and our family and in the international community, especially when we're involved in a pandemic like this, to be diligent and do our research and not be a part of the problem in spreading false rumors and fear.
Right, because I think that a lot of things that I've kept an eye on in terms of what I share to you guys and what I tell my friends and whatnot is, when this is all over with, I don't want to do anything that I'll look back on and feel ashamed of, which part of it is sharing misinformation. I know that I would feel horrible if there were some verifiably false things that were terrible that I shared, acting as if, it was real or not. Because I know that, that's you don't want to stroke that kind of fear. I view the job of giving information to people close to you is because you're trying to make sure they're okay, not instill unnecessary fear to them.
But not everybody's like that. There's lots of strange individuals out there that they get off on that as well too.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably one reason why many people, particularly in the U.S., haven't taken this so seriously, because there's so much crap all over the internet, so much crap on social media on a regular basis, that people have put up a wall in the past few years and said, well, yeah, okay, well, fake news, Yeah. And so I think we're running into that problem too. I think it's a very convoluted issue and more issues, at play than just one. But you just we owe it to ourselves, I think, and to our friends and our family, just to be and if we put something out that's incorrect, then it's okay. We're not perfect. Then we just, hey, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. The information I put out was incorrect. Here is the correct information, by the way.
Right.
And go on with like that. The information is the key here. And the good thing that we have going on for us is that we are connected now worldwide, and information does travel fast.
More than ever before.
With
Yeah.
that being said, wrong information also travels very fast.
Right.
And especially if it's negative news spreads a lot faster than positive news as well.
And speaking of that too, the false information stuff too, it's really up to us to vet this stuff, because what's the alternative? Do we really want a company to do that for us? Like, if it gets down to that, no, we have to take the responsibility to vet things for being real or not on our own, because God knows what happens if somebody else does it for us.
Well, absolutely. And I think that just also goes back to, it's our own, we have to take care of ourselves. Nobody else is going to do it for you. The government's not going to do it. It's not the government's responsibility for them to come out and say, you need to prepare for this. They've put the information out there. It's your, whether you want to listen to the information and you want to take steps to protect yourself and your family, go for it. You should be. But don't expect anybody else to do it for you, because it's not going to happen. And you're going to be left behind, and there's going to be a serious situation. You're going to be SOL.
So we got another guy heading out now. Ago. Hey man, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, because I want to do more of these. He says, guys, I'm going now. It's 5 a.m. over here. Haha. Thanks for the conversation. Whenever you can bring more lives like that. Yeah, man. I'd love to get more people on here. I'd love to have Quentin back. Got a message here. But yeah, that being said, Quentin, he's got to head out, so I'm going to give a quick little send-off here. This has been a very productive thread. I want to say thanks on behalf of myself and the viewers here, and I know you got to head out, but thank you so much for being on this, dude.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I hope maybe you would like to have me on the future, and we don't have to talk about this either. Yeah. It sounds like we've got lots of interesting things that we can speak about as well. I had a great time. If anybody here is interested, in following me or whatever on Facebook, shoot me a text in the comment section or whatever, and that way you can follow me. I post fairly regularly about things that are going on, so you can follow Macau that way. Yeah, thank you so much. I had a blast, and I'm really glad that we had a great turnout. It sounds like it was really big. So
yeah, thanks so much for coming, man. And if anyone has any trouble reaching Quentin, feel free to hit me up. I'm happy to share any social stuff, like information, all that kind of stuff. And I'll definitely get you in touch. And that being said, I'd like to do this again sometime. Let's talk about that, and I'll let you go, man.
Absolutely. Hit me up, and let's set something up. And everybody else, be vigilant, wash your hands, and be concerned, but don't be afraid.
Right. Be constructive. Thank you so much, and we'll talk soon, buddy.
Thanks, brother. Be good.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys. That was Quentin. Really cool guy. I think he's an excellent guest. I've had a blast having him on here. We got a couple options we can do tonight. Thankfully, tomorrow I don't really have an early morning. I could do a stream if you guys want. I might head off. I'm not quite sure. I got nothing to do. I got my coronavirus bunker completely set up. So it's just me and my cat Jerry here, and a bunch of video games. So I might head off. I don't know. I didn't think out what to do after the stream. I was just excited to have Quentin on here. Okay, this is not the coronavirus. I have been crunching these little hot peanut things over here. This is a habit. I was eating them earlier, and I think the dust has been getting in the air, so it's not the coronavirus. I assure you it's not the coronavirus, in case anyone's concerned about that. There's no threat of it in Maryland at the moment, so nothing to worry about. But yeah, guys, for anyone who's new, I was so surprised that we got all these new people, these new faces on here. I want to make this a hub of information, at least to give like a more like ground level view of what's going on. Some background into my expertise. I'm not in the medical field per se. The best I could say is, number one, I'm just really just a concerned guy that's been looking into this for the past few days. But health wise, I've been teaching voice for the past 10 years. Not 10 years, about 7 years really. I've been performing as a vocalist for probably the past 10 years. And I've been getting into fitness, bodybuilding kind of stuff for the past 2 years. And as a vocalist, I kind of started learning a really kind of obsessive amount about your vocal health, not just performing stuff, but the health side of it made me kind of fascinated, combined with bodybuilding stuff, to start learning about what supplements did, what good nutrition did. So I'm definitely not like an expert in some of that stuff like Quentin, but I think it gives me the ability to at least converse with people that know what they're talking about, and at least be able to understand some of the terminology. But that being said, guys, yeah, I had a blast. I'm really glad you guys came in here. I didn't expect to have so many great questions here. And I do have other people I'll be bringing on soon. I think it is kind of late, so I might wrap it up. If I can't go to sleep, I'll hop on a stream soon. But yeah, dude, thank you guys so much. And yeah, me too. Yeah, no, I actually want to do a bit earlier streams. I usually do streams at 9 o'clock, but I do a late one just because of Quentin's time schedule, because, you know, he's in China. But yeah, I gotta get sleep too. I mean, you and I several of us are on EST right now, so it's 3 a.m. I think my body's complaining right now, and it's telling me to get some sleep. So if I don't not be able to get some rest, I'll be back on with some Doom. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. Leave some comments. If you want to have another episode, if you have any other questions you want me to answer, I'm happy to answer them. I had a great time. I hope you guys had a great time. And I will see you guys soon. And yeah, be sure to subscribe at twitch.tv/PowerRobOfficial or youtube.com/PowerRob. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon. I'm most likely going to stream again tomorrow night. So if you have any follow-up questions, keep your eye on the channel. I usually do 9 p.m. EST. I might do that again tomorrow. And thank you guys so much. I will hope you have a good night and stay safe. And then, as I said before, we're going to be okay. You're going to